Last season, Union Berlin took the Bundesliga by storm, finishing 4th in the table and qualifying for the Champions League. However, this season they find themselves rock bottom of the Bundesliga and have even sacked their manager Urs Fischer in November. So in today's video, I will take charge of Union to right the ship and see if we can add the first Bundesliga title to that trophy cabinet. If you're a Union Berlin fan or you like the FM24 rebuilds, please do drop a like on today's video and let me know down in that comment section who you would like to see me rebuild next. Going into our first season, you can really see why this Union team has done well in recent years. Key players within this squad are defensive midfielder 𝗕𝗨𝗬𝗓, the younger brother of Germany World Cup winner Sami Khedira, and Robin Kontz, who has been a rock at the back. As we are using a real-world database for this rebuild, we will welcome Robin Gosens and Leonardo Bonucci later in pre-season, and we have Chelsea youngster Datro Fofana on loan for the season. In this rebuild, we will be using GYR's Volonté Victory tactic, which is a 4-4-1-1 in-game, and looks like this on day 1 at charge of Union. As I mentioned in the intro, Union qualified for the Champions League last season, so I will have that to contend with in Season 1. And looking at the Bundesliga, we've been given title odds of 50-1 and are predicted to finish in 7th. In the Bundesliga, we started our campaign with a 6-game unbeaten run, which ended emphatically on the road against Dortmund. Following that, the lack of consistency was what harmed us throughout the season, as we were rarely able to string together 2 wins in a row before suffering a defeat. We ended the season strong, but were slightly off the pace of unlikely champions Dortmund, who won the league title with a total of 82 points. We finished in 3rd place behind the champions and Bayern Munich, meaning we will be playing Champions League football again next season. And this is just as well because our performance in the competition this year was really bad. Still in the group stage in Season 1, we were drawn in Group D alongside Sevilla, Red Bull Salzburg and Porto. But we sadly lost our last 4 games in the group, finishing rock bottom and missing out on falling into the Europa League. And finally, we had a pretty poor showing in the DFB Pokal as well. First up, we knocked out non-league side Maccabi Berlin comfortably in the first round before slumping to an extra time defeat to fellow Bundesliga side Freiburg in the 2nd round. So we were impressive in the Bundesliga, but off the pace in other competitions, meaning there will be work to do over the summer. We have just shy of £18 million to spend in the summer, so we're going to have to wheel and deal to make this team better. Over the summer, we were able to raise some additional funds with 12 players departing the club for a total of £36.6 million. Key outgoings was Josip Juranovic, who departed for Saudi Arabia for £18.25 million, and Rani Khedira, who joined Wolfsburg for £7 million. On the incoming side of things, 19 players joined the club through various means, with us spending a total of £43.5 million. We raided Scandinavia for key personnel as 𝗕𝗨𝗬𝗓 joined from FC Copenhagen for an initial £10.25 million, and Tobias Slot-Saga joined us from OB for £3.4 million. We also introduced some fresh German talent into the squad as Lukas 𝗕𝗓𝗓 joined us from Wolfsburg for £7.25 million, and young striker Nelson Viper joined us from Mainz for £4.5 million. And finally, one notable loan signing this season was Alexis Saelemaekers, who joined us from AC Milan for the year for an initial loan fee of £1.7 million, and he will also join us on a permanent deal next summer. Going into the season, this team has a new fresh look about it, and I'm confident going into the season. We have the same 3 competitions on our schedule as last season, and I will be looking for a better showing in both the Pokal and the Champions League. Following last season's 3rd place finish, we've been given title odds in the Bundesliga of 50-1 and are predicted to finish in 6th. In the Bundesliga, we were exceptional this season, picking up an impressive 24 wins from our 34 fixtures, meaning that we actually jumped up in the table. But sadly, even though we finished above last season's champions Dortmund, Bayern Munich jumped ahead and reclaimed that title, pipping us to it by just 3 points. This was a modern day club record for Union Berlin, but it's still a bitter pill to swallow watching Bayern Munich lift that league title. Our key problem this season was the absence of a true out-and-out goal scorer, as Lukas 𝗕𝗓𝗓 finished 11 goals behind Harry Kane, who won the league's Golden Boot. In Season 2 we had a much better showing in the DFB Pokal, knocking out lower league opposition in the opening 2 rounds. The third round threw up a difficult tie against Dortmund, but 𝗦𝗓𝗧𝗧 was able to bag the only goal in the game in the first half to see us progress. This sets up a quarter-final tie on the road again, this time against RB Leipzig, where we sadly ended our cup run as Benjamin Sesko latched onto a nice through ball to score the only goal of the game. And finally for Season 2 we have the Champions League, where we entered the competition looking to have a better showing than last season. In the league phase we were drawn alongside Lens, Lazio, Real Madrid, Ajax, Galatasaray, Real Sociedad, Inter Milan and Napoli. We managed to pick up 4 impressive wins this time around, even beating Italian sides Lazio and Inter Milan on the road, meaning we finished the league campaign with 13 points, qualifying for the knockout stages. In the playoff round we took on Real Sociedad, a side who we'd already beaten in the league phase, but knockout football is a different animal. We were in Spain for the first leg, and despite taking the lead from the spot, we suffered a 2-1 defeat, leaving us with a job to do back in Berlin. The second leg really saw our boys show it, with Alexis Saelemaekers backing a brace inside the first half, with Lucas 𝗕𝗏𝗧 rounding off the tie with a final goal late on in the second half. This sets up a round of 16 tie against English powerhouse Newcastle United. This time we were at home in the first leg, where the Magpies took the lead through Joelinton, but his goal was quickly cancelled out by Oliver Valledezan. Newcastle scored again to create the 1-goal advantage, but again we were able to cancel it out deep into second half injury time to see the game finish 2-2. At St James's Park we gave a great account of ourselves, battling back from 2-0 down and 3-2 down to make it all level, only to see Lucas Gunora-Duarte net the winning goal with just 8 minutes remaining. I would say this was a much more impressive season, and going into the summer transfer window we have £22 million to spend to see if we can claw back that 3-point deficit to Bayern. In this summer transfer window we went wild with installments to try and turn this team into a real title contender. We spent a total of £76 million on 15 players, with key additions being fullback Fabiano Paresi, who joined from Fiorentina for an initial £13 million, Icelandic midfielder Isaac Johannesson, who arrived from Copenhagen for £9.75 million, and Argentinian starlet Gianluca Prestiani, who joins us from Vélez for £7.25 million. These additions mean that we have squad depth like never before, but we'll be pinning youngsters and summer additions Emil Breivik and Simon Solm into these positions for the season to continue their development. Going into the third season of this rebuild, we will be participating in the same 3 competitions as always, and we've now been given title odds of 25-1 and are predicted to finish in 5th. It seems like, according to these pre-season odds, we're just going up 1 place each season. First up, I have to talk about our woeful performance in the DFB Pokal this season. We took on third-tier side Dynamo Dresden on the road in the first round and slumped to an embarrassing 3-1 defeat. It seems like I have a little bit of a cup hex on me right now, however the same thing cannot be told about the league. In the Bundesliga, we were fantastic yet again, but still cannot seem to get a result against Bayern. We actually have a terrible record against Bayern, only getting 1 result in 6 appearances in this save so far. Those losses to Bayern meant that we finished runners-up in the Bundesliga for a second successive season, this time by an agonising 2 points. I am adamant that we will topple Bayern Munich if it is the last thing that I do. And finally, in the Champions League, we advanced through the league phase, picking up impressive wins against Nice, Red Star, Anderlecht and Feyenoord, along with an impressive draw with Liverpool at Anfield. This meant that we finished the league phase in 10th place with 14 points, meaning that we'd enter the playoff round for a second season in a row. It was Norwegian champions Bodo Glimt in the playoff round, where we fired out a statement of intent in the first leg, picking up an impressive 5-1 win in Norway. Back home, the game was much closer, finishing in a 2-2 draw, but we advanced with a 7-3 aggregate win. We progressed into the round of 16, where we would then face Italian giants AC Milan. This time we were at home in the first leg, but the result was the same, with us taking a slender lead into the second leg thanks to a hat-trick from 𝗦𝗔𝗓𝗘𝗓. The second leg at the San Siro was a damp squib, ending in a goalless draw, meaning we moved into the quarter-finals where we would face Manchester United. Lisandro Martinez opened the scoring in the first leg, but his goal got cancelled out by 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗧, but United regained the lead with 15 minutes remaining. However, the second leg at Old Trafford was a little bit more disappointing, as United ran out comfortable 4-0 winners, with Łukasz Sušić netting an impressive hat-trick. We are getting so close to achieving something with this team, but it is going to have to be one of the best seasons this club has ever seen. And this summer we are here to compete in the transfer market, as we have just under £70 million to spend, so let's get to spending. Going into this summer transfer window, we had an absolute war chest to spend on new players, and we topped it up a little bit more with 𝗕𝗨𝗬𝗬𝗜 departing us for Saudi Arabia for £17.5 million. Despite having loads of cash to spend, we only spent £27.5 million, bringing in 16 new faces. Sometimes you just have to wheel and deal. Key incomings were Matthias Braunolder, who joined from Austria Vienna for £8 million, and we raided Freiburg for 𝗕𝗨𝗬𝗬𝗜 and Kylian Sardella, who joined us for a combined £12.5 million. We also managed to bring Datro Fofana back to the club for a second loan spell from Chelsea. He was good for a goal every other game in his last loan spell, so we are hoping he does the same again. This team is looking strong and balanced throughout, and I'll be hoping this year is our year. We also add the German Super Cup to our schedule this season, as Bayern won both the league and the cup last year, so we will take them on in the season opener. We're predicted to finish in 5th again this season with title odds of 25-1, but Bayern are odds-on favourites. This season we started with the DFL Super Cup, where we would take on Bayern Munich, and I was completely full of optimism for the first 20 minutes until Harry Kane opened the scoring for Bayern. The goals kept coming and Bayern ran out comfortable 4-0 winners. I guess that might just still be a step too far this season. This season we kick off with the Champions League, where we are drawn alongside Sporting, Copenhagen, Fenerbahce, Liverpool, Red Bull Salzburg, Ludogorets, Napoli and Real Madrid. We were very impressive in the league phase, picking up 6 wins out of our 8 fixtures, even beating Napoli and Real Madrid. Those results meant that we finished 3rd in the league phase and will progress automatically into the round of 16, where we would take on Arsenal. The first leg was at the Emirates, where we were taught a little bit of a lesson, as Gabriel Martinelli bagged a hat-trick as part of an impressive 4-1 win for the Gunners. Back in Berlin, we played out a drab 0-0, meaning we fought out of the competition with a little bit of a whimper, but the rest of our season would be a roaring success. In the Pokal, we had a relatively easy progression through the first few rounds, as we dispatched Osnabrück, Sandhausen and Heidenheim to set up a quarter-final tie with Leipzig. We owed Leipzig, as they knocked us out of the Pokal 2 seasons ago, and this time we ran out 3-1 winners to progress to the semi-finals. This is where we would face Wolfsburg, and we take the lead through Gianluca Ganetto, but Thiago Thomas was able to pull the home side level. And that is how the game stayed, forcing the game into extra time, where we were reduced to 10 men thanks to Alex Kral receiving his marching orders for his disgusting challenge on Jakub Kaminski. Even with 10 men, Wolfsburg could not break us down, meaning that the semi-finals would have to be settled via penalty shootout. We were disappointing in the shootout, as Sebastiano Esposito and 𝗕𝗨𝗬𝗓 saw their penalty saved by the Wolfsburg keeper for us to lose the shootout 4-3. And finally, we have to talk about the Bundesliga, and we opened our campaign with a horrendous 5-1 loss on the road to Frankfurt. Thankfully, after that, we managed to get things back on track and even avoided defeat at home to Bayern in the league. We then put together a superb unbeaten run that spanned from November through to April, which is where things started to unravel. Somehow we lost 3 of our final 4 fixtures to have a disappointing end to the campaign. However, our earlier run in the season meant that we somehow, some way, managed to win that Bundesliga title, pipping RB Leipzig to the title on goal difference. Granted, the points return wasn't fantastic, but to be honest, I really don't care. It took us 4 seasons to get to the top of the pile in Germany with Union Berlin, and you can pick up this save from this point from my Patreon. Links to that will be down in the description. And if you do like the rebuild content and you want to see more of it, check out this playlist. It's all the rebuilds we've done on this year's game.